Rachel
Hello, good
Bradshaw.
evening. This is Rachel.
Good evening. Can you hear me, dear?
I can.
Very good. Rachel, welcome to Celebrity Spotlight Live. And what it is this. I've created Celebrity Spotlight Live to give fans, well-wishers, and supporters and potential fans as well and supporters the opportunity to get to know celebrities and celebrity entrepreneurs up close and in person, beyond the lights, the cameras, and the action. So this evening, you are our guest.
Awesome.
Rachel Bradshaw is the CEO of, the owner of, the operator of, the overseer, the shot caller of, the mover, if you don't mind, and shaker of Little Harriet Productions, which is a New York City-based film and television production company. Again, welcome, Rachel, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this half-hour interview with us. This is the first phase of the interview, and it will transition from our conference call to the Internet with your bio and your pick for the World Wide Web to see, etc. Before we get started, Rachel, I just want to say that the film industry now is no longer a male-dominated profession, thank goodness, because in the last several years it seems there have been more women behind the camera, in the director's chair, calling the shots and doing things that for such a long period of time men were known for doing. So I just want to applaud you for the things that you have done and the achievements that you have done. Okay, Rachel, you are a very talented, you're educated woman. And when I met you, you were full of life. You could have chosen to do anything. You could have pursued another profession. What led you down this direction into filmmaking?
For a very young age, very young age, I always knew that I would do something creative.
Okay.
And I also had committed myself early on to also be a community activist.
Okay.
And I always knew that whatever I do in life, it would involve being creative. And, you know, I always consider my first talent to be writing. And I always knew that, you know, what I was going to do was going to be visual also because, you know, I understand how important imagery is and how it could reach the masses in a way that, you know, a lot of other mediums could not. So what happened was, you know, in high school, I was a writer, and one of my teachers actually suggested moving on into college that I possibly pursue journalism because of my love for writing and also based on the fact that, you know, I was very into addressing social issues. So as I embarked into, you know, college and decided to do journalism, I was advised to do broadcast journalism.
Wonderful.
So then moving into broadcast journalism, you know, I worked in the television industry for a little bit and kind of hit just a brick wall because at the time there weren't a lot of opportunities for African Americans within television. It was very tough to get into television and very tough to get into news, specifically, news especially. And so what happened is I came out the industry, and then when I decided to come back in, I decided that since I wanted to also more address social issues, I said, well, let me just go ahead and embark more on focusing on film, documentary in particular. And that was because what I've noticed working in news, because I actually still do also work in news, is that there are issues that sometimes you want to address, social issues that need to be addressed, but it's addressed in a 2-minute package. So it's kind of like how can you really delve into an issue when you're trying to edit it and put it together in 2 minutes. And there's a lot of issues that I felt deserve more time. So that's what kind of made me embark on founding Little Harriet Productions, because I said there's things in the industry in the student community that I would like to address. And I felt like documentary and just narrative were a better way to do it because you have more time to do so.
Okay. That's excellent. And what I like about what you said is this. You felt as though certain issues needed more time. And so what you did was you did something about it. It's very easy to sit back and say, you know what, this is needed. You could have sat back and said, you know what, there's not enough time for this. And it just could have been the end of the conversation. But you was active and proactive. And you did something about it. The name of your production company is called Little Harriet Productions. Now, where did that name come from? I'm interested. I want to know where that name comes from.
It's funny because everyone asks me that, but there was one woman, actually, an anchor at my day job too, where I also work in news. She got it immediately. It, of course, comes from Harriet Tubman, and how I came up with the name. How I came up with the name is, the name kind of chose me is. I had a friend tell me one time, because like I said before, I'm very into community activism and stuff like that. So one time, my friend, he said to me, he was like, you're so militant, you're so proactive, you're like a little Harriet Tubman. And I always remembered that he said that to me, and it just kind of stuck. And when I was deciding what I would name my production company, I chose that because how Harriet Tubman, kind of sacrificed her freedom and her life to go back and, free more slaves is kind of the way I want to open up, documentaries and opening up film so that, I can bring more people in and I can free more filmmakers of color, especially African Americans, to be more bold, to be more brave in addressing issues. So if I can be at the forefront of, taking on social issues and taking on projects, firsthand, and, other people will follow because the Little Harriet Productions is leading with this, let it be.
That is amazing. That is so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. What are some of the other aspects of Little Harriet Productions? I know you do film and you do documentaries. What are some of the other aspects of your production company?
So we do films. I basically focus mostly on film and television, but film and television. Usually the projects that produce, the first, I'm sure we'll get into it later, is the first film on my own. But I focus basically on just kind of producing projects that could either go on film the big screen or also on television. I mostly focus on television because it's the small screen is easier to get your projects on. But most of the projects that Little Harriet Productions focuses on is we really first off go for the educational market because we want to educate and we want to change society from the youth on, from those learning, from those the next generation that's coming up that we want to make a difference. So usually a lot of the projects that I do is to tackle the educational market first so that they can, the films can go into universities, they can go into institutions. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of really what we focus on. Also, there's also a lot of writing involved. I'm heavily involved in being a contributing writer for various websites through Little Harriet Productions. There's the Good Men Project, Your Black World, The Griot, MSNBC's The Griot. So, I contribute, Little Harriet Productions contributes a lot of writings, specifically focused on the family right now because that is our niche. That is our niche. So, there's a lot of things we do. We're going to open up now to more things in the future. We want to do music videos. I want to do promo.
Oh, that sounds great.
Commercials. Because what I also want to dedicate the company to do also is when I was actually working on my business model for it, is that I decided to also give back to the community. There's a lot of there's a lot of minority businesses that fail within the first 5 years, and that's also because of lack of business and lack of capital. And a lot of times that can be saved if they're able to advertise, and a lot of these businesses cannot afford to put together a corporate video or a commercial that they can use to promote, their service or their product. So I want to also be able to give back to the community by producing high quality, commercials or corporate videos at a reasonable cost for, small businesses. So there's the production company itself, it's just surrounded in community service.
And that's okay. That's a wonderful thing. And again, I applaud you as an independent production and film company CEO, and as an African American woman, and you are doing it. And what I find out too is that when you decide to give to others, it seems as if you become even more blessed.
Yes, amen.
And, as you give out, God makes a way for you to be given back unto as well, even more sometimes. So that's a wonderful thing that you want to do for the future, to give back, to the community, and to do music videos, and to offer, at a very cost-effective price, marketing for small businesses. And I believe if small businesses were given the opportunity for what it is that you want to do in the future, many of them probably would make it and reach, a far wider audience. So that's a wonderful thing that you want to do, Rachel. Now we're going to get into an independent production that you have done. Okay, and we talked about issues a few minutes ago. You could have talked about a whole lot of things, too, because there are a lot of issues that can be addressed. There are a lot of things going on in the world, and especially in the African-American community, and we know what just took place in Ferguson. We don't even need to talk about that. But you have chosen a very sensitive and a very significant issue to document on film. Tell us about the project that you have done and the name of it, and what led you to target or to accentuate this particular issue as opposed to some of the other issues that are important and significant as well in the community.
Okay, so the first production is on my own, and I decided to tackle the broken black family in the United States. Very taboo subject to touch on. And I received a lot of hesitance from people when I kind of let them know that this is something that I would tackle. But as we know, currently as the U.S. Census Bureau, they have their statistics, 7 out of 10 black children are living in a home with only one parent. 90% of those homes are headed by females. And we all know the statistics of, not to say all children, not all African-American children that grow up in single-parent homes are going to do these things. But we know that there's a higher likelihood for children that grow up in fatherless homes to commit crime, to drop out of school, for the boys abandon their own families. And also we know that these children sometimes they suffer from psychological issues because that stems from feeling abandonment and all these other things.
Exactly.
So I just want to say this first off. A weak community results, a weak family structure results in a weak community. The family is the most basic social structure of any community and society. Once the family is together and you have a collection of families, that makes the community strong because these become the business owners, these become the policemen, the lawyers, the whatever, the producers, the people that just make sure that the neighborhood blossoms and that it's safe and that it's productive. So now when that's falling apart, the family, that's going to result in a community. You can't have a strong black community without a strong black family.
That is so true.
I decided to do it first off on that. But my parents divorced when I was 11 years old. And I was kind of used to having my father in the home. It was four girls.
Okay.
And when he left, I definitely did see the impact of my father not being there because, my mother had to struggle to take care of four of us, and at times we saw us on and off the system because it was just her raising four girls.
Right.
So I kind of understood that, and I kind of understood a little bit of the void that was there because Daddy wasn't kind of really still around to teach me my self-worth, and for him to be the first man that I really love and respect and see as a model for the men that I would go out and meet later. And so there was that. And then just growing up in Harlem, New York, I just noticed that a lot of my peers, they didn't have fathers either. And you just saw, mothers in the, you just saw mothers, heading these families, and it just is just what the community was. And it was just kind of normal for us. So then in addition to that, what really made me say, like, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this is I had a girlfriend in college who got pregnant at, I think, 20, so she was a young mother. And she struggled a lot because the son's father was in and out of jail, and then their relationship was rocky. So when he got out, she started to explain to him, his responsibilities, and she started to, complain to him that he's not really helping with his son. He doesn't know how his son is fed, clothed, or sheltered. And his response to her after, she's been letting him know I've been doing this all this time myself and I need your help, his response was, well, I know you got it. I know you can take care of it. And that just kind of fell on me like a ton of bricks because I said for him to be able to say this, it's a mentality that we all have adopted in the African-American community where it's just okay for the women to do it, and there's this strong black mother, a strong black woman image that is out there, and it's kind of excused the fathers from being around, and, that hurts the kids and that hurts the community. So I said, well, okay, this couldn't have just come out of nowhere that the African-American community is like this. Let me explore the history of the black family. Let me see if there's a movement out here. How can we explore practical solutions to change it? And then, I just started to interview some mothers. I said, let me get some fathers in it also so we can have a balanced view of what's going on, what has slavery played in the breakdown of the black family. And just all of these things, it just came together, and it's a well-balanced piece on just the black family, what we need to do to move it forward. Black mothers get to tell their sides of the story. Because I think a lot of times black single mothers sometimes, it's either they get a good rap or a bad rap. And I think the majority of black single mothers do a great job, and they do the best that they can. But we have to come back to the realization and the honest truth of that children need both a mother and father in the home. And so that's kind of just what made me do it, and, bringing it back to the community so that we can open up a national dialogue on how we're going to repair this, because we have to get this together.
And you're absolutely right, Rachel. And this is an issue and a subject that you can never talk enough about. Okay, you can never talk enough about it, never. I mean, because it's been an issue, like you said, it's been a part of many African American families' history. Some, men not being in the home, women having to do it all on their own, women having to pretty much wear the shoes that a man would be wearing, and plus put on the heels at the same time. But we have been able to make it through with God's help and the help of family and friends, which goes back to what you said when you talked about a weak family structure. That is profound. I'm going to have to propagate that and foster that several times. A weak family structure equals a weak community, which means a strong family structure will equal a strong community. That's a very, very powerful statement. So, Rachel, tell us, we have a few moments left, where can your DVD be purchased?
Okay. I also wanted to say something else before I get to that. The film also highlights the black church in the documentary, because the black church has been like a concrete stable for our community since the slaves were free. A lot of black men. That was their first leadership roles as preachers and, pastors. And, this is how they led in the community. So since the church still has significant population, I had to highlight, like, what is the black church doing to take take this on, because a lot of black churches have a lot of single mothers in their congregation, but how do we help them raise their kids to do better with the Christian doctrine? How do we try to bring in the fathers of these children and invite them to come to the church and try to get them together to see if they're going to be married and join and raise the children? And, so it was very important for me to also include the black church in there. So I did just want to say that. But now, Okay, but now answer your question. So good news for institutions that are interested in buying, like universities, colleges, hospitals, prisons. I have a distribution deal through Alexander Street Press, Filmmakers Library. Okay. They're a huge distribution company. So if you're interested, if you're an institution interested in purchasing the DVD or digital streaming, you just have to email sales@alexanderstreet.com. But for regular people that are just interested in buying the DVD, you just go to the Little Harriet Productions website, and there is a donate button, and then what you do is you just the DVD is $15. You just purchase it, and afterwards there's a place on the website where you can just email me or whoever's going to check it, and you just shoot over your address so that we could go ahead and ship you the DVD.
And ship us the copy of it. Okay, Rachel Bradshaw. I'm going to ask you a few more things now, and this is a part of getting to know you a little more personally. What is Rachel's favorite color?
Blue.
Blue. Light blue, dark blue, navy blue?
Teal, kind of like a teal blue. A teal kind of blue, yeah.
Okay. Okay, a teal kind of blue. What is Rachel's favorite food?
Anything rice.
Anything with rice or light?
Yeah, like any rice dish, rice pilaf. I'm part Nigerian, so we have a dish called jollof. Yeah, we have a dish called jollof rice. My mother's Guyanese, so I like cooked up rice.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I have an interest in, African diaspora kind of culture.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So any type of rice cuisine.
Okay, any type of rice. Okay, and who is, if you have one, your favorite actor or actress?
Oh, okay. I would say my favorite actress, Angela Bassett.
Okay, that's good, Angela Bassett. And this is the last question. I have kind of a lot of fun with this question. Rachel, if you were able to fold your hands in front of one another like Genie on I Dream of Genie and blink, what would you make happen?
If I can, I would eliminate poverty. I really would.
Okay. You would eliminate poverty. Excellent. Rachel, thank you so much. We still have a few more minutes. Thank you so much for sharing with us about Little Harriet Productions. And when people buy the film and they see it, what is it that you want them to walk away from after seeing it?
What I want them to do is, first off, self-reflect. If you're in a situation where, for the men, if you're in a situation where you're not on the best terms with your ex-wife or the mother of your children, make that better. If you're a father that's not in your children's life or your child's life, no matter if that child is 13 or if that child is 3, you can make an impact from that day on, moving forward, to make that child's or those children's lives better. For the mothers, if you are making it hard for the father to see his children or his child because the relationship didn't work out, stop that. And, let him be the father that he needs to be, because the child needs him. And it's just that's it. And just for fathers to understand that your worth is not financial, because that's another theme in the film. We redefine fatherhood. Your worth is your time and your values that you bring to the table.
Wow.
It costs you nothing. It costs you nothing to take a walk in the park with your child and just see how they're feeling, or impart wisdom onto them. So that's something that I want people to walk away with. I want people to walk away with the fact, for those that maybe are younger, make good choices as far as who you decide to date and who you have children with, because you have to stick with that decision. I want African Americans that watch this, or just people in general, because it is a family film also, to understand the importance of marriage, of what that is. And if you grew up religious, you understand that that's a ritual that we respect, because we believe that that's God's way for us to be married, and then you go ahead and produce your children. But just in our society, marriage is respected because it's an institution of two people partnering together, to make things work for the family. It's a commitment. So just the importance of how important marriage is, choices, dating, and always put the children first, and understand that children do go through psychological issues when there's a broken family. So always parents and, people that are dating, looking for that, always be cognizant of that, your behavior.
Exactly. Right. Okay, Rachel, hold on one moment, please.